multiple publication studios have emerged around the world, and all of these studios act as a network. And this network is a community of people who believe in books as a form of publicness, as a form of publication, that once a book is written, it is passed over to its readers, and it's the community of readers and writers who together make that written word come alive and find meaning in the world. So Publication Studio Guelph, we have published, I don't know how many books, but I mean, 5 or 6 or 8 a year, quite a few, and many of the other studios elsewhere likewise. Books are made fresh, and when you order them, they are made by our team of bookmakers and they are popped in the mail. All of the studios have access to publish to print all of the books that are published by all of the other studios, so it's a very unique distribution model. And it means that the different approaches that the editorial teams of each studio gives a different flavor to each studio as well. So it's a very beautiful thing. And Publication Studio Guelph, and Publication Studio Hudson, New York, have a close relationship with the Goat Pole in that we publish the Goat Pole books here in Guelph, and there are some new initiatives that will be coming out of Hudson very soon. So with that introduction to the publisher of Ndugu Stephen's book, A Million Stars from Our Sky, I would hand it over to Matthew. Matthew is one of the reader advisor writers, Rays, of the Goat Pole. Matthew was also the founder in many ways of that initiative, again in collaboration with a community of people around the world. So Matthew, maybe if you could say a few words about the Goat Pole, and then I will introduce Ndugu.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sean. The Goat Pole is a community of people who share writing and reading together. And we've met each other through a digital apparatus that is sponsored by Musagetes, which is our website called The Goat Pole. But through that, we've made direct human relations of writing, which comes from writers who've shown up almost all in situations of dispossession or of loss of rights. Something has intervened in their life that's made the act of writing have this special status, a place where they can have agency and where the stories they carry can be heard. And the political power to speak as oneself, to be seen as oneself in community, can be granted in this exchange of writing and reading. So the Goat Pole was an attempt to bring that capacity to anybody who felt they needed it. At this point, it's several hundred. I think we've published more than 500 writers, more than 2,000 stories, and the exchange of, so for instance, Ndugu Stephen and I, through many different stories and months, is that the writer sends the story that they're interested in. They send what they want to work on, what they feel needs to be published. The reader, advisor, editor, the Ray, which in this case is me, then acts in support of that work, acts as a reader, as an advisor, as an editor, trying to help the writer find all of its potentials, find all of the hidden secrets that are usually in a first draft of writing, all of the things that are not yet seen. It's a very rewarding process, I think, on both ends. So the Goat Pole persists because funding from Musagetes allows us to pay all the writers each time they publish, allows us to pay the Rays an equivalent amount for each story, and allows us to then also take part in workshops together in a setting like this, to sponsor events that people have to show up for so we can see and hear each other, and to publish books. And at this point, there are 3 books from the Goat Pole. Today we'll be seeing the launch of the 3rd one, A Million Stars from Our Sky. And I think that's sufficient to turn it back to Sean to introduce our writer and author, Ndugu Stephen. So Sean, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Matthew. It is indeed a very good privilege to introduce Ndugu Stephen, as Matthew says, our third published author of the Goat Pole books with the publication studio Guelph. Ndugu lives in Malawi at the Dzaleka refugee camp. He is an adventurous young writer who has studied in that country, in Malawi, and then progressed with online studies from Creighton University and the Catholic University of Germany. Ndugu came to the Goat Pole, I think it's about a year ago, isn't it, Matthew? And not even, 3 years ago, wow. And has published several stories on the Goat Pole already. And it was on the significance of that writing that Matthew encouraged Ndugu to write a full book that we could publish with the imprint. And this is indeed Ndugu's first book. So, welcome, Ndugu. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you've published with us, and I'm excited that this book is beginning its circulation in the world.
Uh, thanks a lot, Sean. Thanks a lot, Matthew, and hello everyone. I'm really so humbled to be here. Just a short memory, a recall. Somewhere in 2024, somewhere in December, when we had this online party with fellow writers, writers party, there was a question that had to be splayed out, like, what do you see yourself in the coming years? What's something you wish as a writer? And then I told them, oh, I wish to publish a book, to become an author, and publish as many books as I can. And gladly enough, fast forward, here we are. Thanks a lot, everyone. I'm just so excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you, Ndugu. I think this is a good time to screen the video that you put together. I think it's an extraordinary a little insight into the place where you live, Ndugu. I can't believe you put that video together just over the weekend. And I think that's our cue. Curtis, maybe if you could spark up the video there. thank you so much, Ndugu, for putting that together. It really helps to get a sense of the place where you live. And I'm just imagining you on your walking tour to all the places that you refer to in the book. I especially was moved by the video of the battlefield. I loved that passage in the book as well. So why don't we move then to actually hearing from you read from the book, Ndugu? And I think that the passage you have selected, people will immediately recognize where it falls in the video.
Thanks a lot, Sean, and everyone. I should say, the video really showed some of the places that uh, popped into my book, and yeah, lucky enough, the chapter I'm also reading was also seen in the video, Boho Adventures. Probably you had seen it.
And Hugo, just before
Yes.
you begin with the story, I wanted to say the book tells the story of Toyi, who is a boy whose school we just saw in the video. And it follows Toyi's adventures with his friends, Gilbert and Gadsden, across a number of places that you just saw pictures of, as the family Toyi is part of goes through its own struggles, and Toyi emerges to become a great helper, not only to his friends, but to his family as well. Just want to give that as a kind of broad background for the story of Borehole Adventures.
Thanks a lot, Matthew. Thanks a lot for jumping in. And yeah, that's the whole thing. It is about Toy, and we're about to dive into one of the amazing part of his adventures with his friends, Gadson and Gilbert. So it's Boho's adventures, and it's happening at the Boho you had seen in the video. Okay. And here I'll start. To be a refugee wasn't a thing to boast of. I was 12 years old. Gadson was 13 years old. He was strong and plump with a big voice. Walking with him saved us from the camp bullies. Gilbert was also 13. He was a considerate and loving friend. He would try his best to help anyone. We were friends in need. In those days, when you reached our age, you had to find small jobs to pay for school materials. We had to take any job we could find early in the morning or after school until evening to make ends meet. During our last school term in Standard 4, I found a job of fetching water from the borehole for a certain rich lady. After school, I called on my friends as usual. Then I went to collect the empty jerry cans from a lady who promised to pay us. Meanwhile, Gilbert and Gadson had already grabbed a place in the borehole's long line. Rejoining them, I saw smiles on my friends' eager faces. Today we are going to have money, Gadson said excitedly. Don't count your eggs before they are hatched, Gilbert warned. We sat, waiting for a turn. All the refugees from Congo, Ethiopia, Burundi, Rwanda, and even Somalia were gathered at this low borehole. As crowded as it was, only one person at a time could fetch water. Gilbert watched people entering and leaving the market to the north. Gadson, with his wide open ears, listened attentively to the arguments of two other boys waiting to join them. My attention was captured by the Ethiopian women, busy cooking their favorite dishes along the borehole's eastern edge. It was past lunchtime, and the aromas were mouth-watering. No wonder everyone wished to eat their spicy foods. My attention was then disturbed by the words of Gadson, whose mission of joining the talk had reached its reward. I turned back to the food and tried to imagine eating it as we had taken this adventure without eating lunch at home. We knew that the next 5 hours would find us there, waiting for a turn. Soon an elderly man from Congo approached the borehole with his small jerry can. The elderly are always allowed to fetch water without waiting, except if other old people were waiting already. He came and sat on one of our jerry cans. Blocking Gilbert's view, And then he asked us our names. I'm Gilbert, his story, and the one talking is Gadson. Gilbert answered. The old man had white hair and was wearing a 1990s jacket, which looked like a forgotten wedding costume from when he was a young man. He started telling us a story about his younger days in Congo. Boys, before the war, we were living peacefully. Our country was full of hand and fruits. As young boys, we would wake up in the morning and come home in the evening. What are you eating? I asked deliberately. He was eating fruits in the forest. You were lucky. Gilbert assured the man. Nowadays, we always pay for a bite of fruit. Waiting at the borehole. Even fetching water was for the girls. The old man recalled. So a boy's job was to wander about? Gadson asked. As a boy then, your work was once and not mopping, cooking, or coming to fetch water. The old man explained. Old times were golden times for us boys, I echoed. Too bad we missed it. Yes, but the old times were not as pleasing as the present day, the old man insisted. In my time, only males were attending schools or taking leadership roles. But nowadays, even girls can. I truly admire that, he added. Soon it was the old man's turn to draw water. He was not as strong as the boy who used to eat fruits, so I helped him in pumping and filling his jerrycan, while Gilbert assisted him by carrying it to his house behind the police center, close to the main waste bins. The line was still long, and we started losing hope. I think we have to give back these empty jerrycans. We will not fetch water here, I complained. We have come far. Gilbert encouraged us. Let's not give up now. We have to get this money. I agree with you. Pajanguluwenali Samhoraninga. Gadson said, meaning not to give up when problems are about to end. This is what friends are for. With my empty stomach and my dry lips, I had to hope again. Just imagine buying Mama Solange's delicious donuts after receiving the money. Gadson started with his jokes. We laughed and laughed. I then smelled the wave of taste aromas of early supper foods from the Ethiopian ladies. Do you smell what I'm smelling? I asked. Yum, yummy. How I wish I was an Ethiopian child, Gadson said. Keep enough of the aroma in your lungs. It will last the stench of the waste bins. Gilbert advised us. At least we had our hope back, along with food stories for a hungry mouth. The sun was setting, and it was almost our turn when a certain talkative woman came by claiming that she was in front of us. We were not happy with this. It's because we are children. Let her go ahead, Gilbert advised. We will wait. She won't take the boho home, he concluded. Look at them. Their friends are home helping their parents, but they are here looking for man at that age. One fat man spoke while pointing at us. We simply stared. Then a great storm of odor from the police station's direction pushed away the spicy aroma, just as Gilbert had warned would happen. The odor was worse than the insults we had just received from these cruel people. To tell the truth, I did not keep enough of the spicy sweet aroma from the first Ethiopian wave as Gilbert had advised, and I regretted it. Soon the woman was done with her endless cans. I took control of her cans. Gadson was pumping while Gilbert was carrying the filled cans back to the owners. Unfortunately for us, more people flocked to the borehole. After sunset, they pressured us to give them quick water for cooking and bathing. With only 10 jerrycans left, we allowed them. Gilbert and Gadson advised me to take care of the empty jerrycans while they were carrying the filled ones. As if it was not enough already, the ladder fell on us. I happened to give my attention to two girls, who were gossiping about their friend, and I forgot my duty. Gatson and Gilbert came at the exact time when we were finished. But upon finishing, we noticed that 2 of our jelly cans were missing. "Where are the cans?" Gatson asked. "They were here," I responded regretfully. We searched everywhere around the borehole and tried asking the people who were there. "Be careful. Didn't you know that they're still here?" A man waiting for his turn responded harshly. "I'm sorry, Gatson. I'm sorry, Gilbert." I begged for their forgiveness. "It's not your fault. It happens," they both said. We sat there for a long time, staring at the remaining cans. We were speechless. I couldn't think of any explanation to give to the owner of the jelly cans. "Let's move on," Gilbert encouraged us, while standing up with the help of my shoulder. "Wise men never cry over spilt milk." He led us, carrying 2 25-liter jelly cans. We carried some too and bravely followed him to the rich lady's house. Upon our arrival, Gilbert recalled the whole story. "And that's how they stole the 2 jelly cans," he finished. "You are careless. How can you let people steal my jelly cans when you are 3 boys?" the lady scolded. "We are sorry, mother," we apologized. "You better go. I'll not give you any money," she concluded. It was already late in the evening. We had no choice, and we went away silently. "But that's not fair," I told my friends. "No, it isn't fair," Gadsden said. "We are owed our money for our work." "Today we agreed volunteers," Gilbert said, encouraging us again. We could not help but laugh as we continued our way home, away from the noisy borehole. Then a familiar voice called to us from the crowd. "Gilbert, Gadsden, since all this time you haven't gone home?" It was the old man who had told us his stories. "No," Gilbert replied. "You look tired and sad. Have you eaten?" "No," we replied. "Follow me," he said. He took us to one of the Ethiopian ladies who was cooking food in one of the restaurants beside the borehole. The aromas grew stronger the closer we got. "Here are the boys I told you about," the old man said to the beautiful Ethiopian woman. She was wearing a long dress called abaya and a hijab. She was walking with a sweet, welcoming perfume. "Sit there," she said, leading us into one of the small rooms where the food was served. She came with a big plate full of rice with chicken and beans. She placed it on the table and told us to enjoy it. Perhaps wise men are correct when they say one good turn deserves another. "Let's eat," Gatson announced. "You are late, my friend. We have already started," I said, while smiling with an excess of rice in my mouth and a chicken thigh in my right hand. That day, I remember eating more delicious food than on any other day during my childhood. After we finished, the old man was nowhere to be found. "Please tell Grandpa that we are grateful," Gilbert said to the old lady as we walked out of the spicy, friendly, and beautiful room. That's the end of Boho's adventures.
Thank you so much. Ndugu, beautifully read, and a central part of the book, an adventure in which the 3 of them find a way to get through hardship. When we were hearing the broadcast, there was a section where the old man sits down to tell a story, and the digital Zoom didn't quite work, and it got scrambled. And I thought I'd start by asking Ndugu, tell us a little bit, what was the old man's story? What was it that he was saying to Toyi, Gilbert, and Gadsden while they sat waiting at the borehole?
Thanks a lot, Matthew. So initially, this is all happening at the borehole, and for a moment, there's this old man who has come. I think this one should take me back a bit. like when I was writing this whole book, I wanted to show how kids view the life they are living, the experience they are getting in Dzaleka. And for a moment, as you see this story unfolds, and Toy having these two friends who are entirely from different nationalities, when this old man comes in, I wanted to highlight the idea of how elders in Dzaleka view the perspective of the modern change of uniting, of coming together despite the differences. So as the conversation unfolds, we hear the old man talking how being a boy was like back in the country, back in the peaceful countries in those days when Congo, the old man is coming from Congo, the old man in the story, how they live like they were living back then. And he's bringing it up. So he's trying to tell how it was like, how good life was then. And then for a moment, these little boys, Toy and his friends, are much more curious and are getting to admire this whole thing, this whole life they were living, boys were living. And they are like, oh, the time of yours was much more better for us boys. And then the old man is getting to say, of course it was for you boys, but I much feel this moment time is one of the greatest times for not only you, but also for girls too. And the fact that these boys and the old man found themselves on the borehole was one sign to tell that it had broken the stereotypes that were there for only girls to be being at the borehole. But we see these boys at the borehole. And it was this whole conversation bringing us together to say, the moment times I have both differences, girls or boys, cultures, coming together and doing what the other side can do.
It's in the book, throughout the book, the generation that arrived from fleeing from other places, the parents of Toyi, the old man at the borehole, all of the people whose origins and culture are from a place that they had to move from, they are a group different from the kids. And the kids, coming also from many different countries, seem to make immediately this new combined culture. They're helping each other. And notably, the boys and the girls are doing the same things and supporting each other in the same ways. Is that an aspect of Toyi's life that you were particularly interested in showing? And is it something which persists in Dzaleka now? Is there a great difference between Toyi's generation and those just older who arrived in Dzaleka and brought with them their children?
Oh, thanks, Matthew. I think normally, when I was writing this book, A Million Stars from a Sky, and as I named it, A Million Stars from a Sky, I wanted to bring out, to create this world where Toy and friends are much more connected, and they are breaking the what's or what the other people who are there, who are then before them, used to have. So initially, for all the refugees who had come earlier on, probably in the 2000s, 205, 209, there was this element, and I think it does happen often in places where differences have met in a multicultural society. And then mostly people, they have to choose. It's either you work with the ones you share the same beliefs, the same culture, or you try to combine with the ones who are different from you. But in Toy's world, and I think Matthew and everyone here, I wanted to highlight this generous vibe, let me call it, generosity feeling of kids, which is not compacted or built on differences, but on unity. So when I was writing, and as you see it unfolds, that Troy is actually having two best friends who are entirely from two different nationalities. It's a whole thing that happens deep in the ground here, that kids, despite the differences, because obviously kids don't know what happened, and they are trying to connect and share hope.
Can you remember when was the first time you recognized that Toyi, Gilbert, and Gadsden would be the center of many stories? Was it at first just one story, or did you have in your mind, I think it was 2024, when you published the first story that involved Gadsden, the unsuccessful escape. Did you know at that point 2 years ago that there was a bigger story, a book that would come from that friendship?
Well, I'll lie. Initially, it was so unexpected. So when I started writing, so I think for everyone here to know, I worked on a story called The Unsuccessful Escape, and I had used the character Toy, who was with his friends, and they were trying to escape the life from Dzaleka. So initially, I should say, the life in Dzaleka, personally, even to myself and to many youngsters, isn't all that 100% takeaway to say, I'll be here. So most of the youngsters are thinking of escaping. How will I survive out of here? So when I wrote the story, Unsuccessful Escape, and then I got this character Toy, and I went ahead and worked on my first chapter in this novel. So initially it was a whole new story I wrote, Boho's Adventures, which for a moment, as you had seen the video, much of the things I go to experience, to pass through, gets to pop up into my writing world. So I was like, let me write something. And it was a heartfelt, bad moment that had occurred. We went to work at a particular time, and then we didn't get paid. So I was like, what if I take this character Tori and put him into this setting where he gets to do this particular thing, gets to do this job, it goes sideways, but then at the end, something good has to happen. I guess sharing this theme of hope that something good can happen. So when I had brought this toy and then brought these characters together, go to the adventure, out to the Boho's adventure, and then eventually this thing happened, them not getting paid, and at the end, getting rewarded by the old man whom they had helped previously. And then there's this whole thing of a good ending. So when I had loaded that chapter, my editor, who is also here, Matthew, thanks Alan, did reach out and said, wow, these characters seem to have a whole big picture of getting into so many stories. And personally, when I had got that that reaction from my editor, I also sat down and I was like, instead of escaping from the camp, instead of running away, what if this feeling of happy ending, despite the things that are happening to kids, continues? And then when I sat, I was like, yeah, I can write something more. And that's why the other chapters came in. So it was a whole thing, yeah, from the Boho's adventures. And then I was like, yeah, a whole book can also come out from it.
Well, it's interesting that in the dialogue between you as a writer and your reader, advisor, editors, that world opened up. I think it was Niels Beckema, another Ray, who worked with you on the unsuccessful escape. And Niels told me about this interesting writer. So I went to your contributors page, and each writer on the Goat Poll has their own page where they can post stories they're working on. They say a little bit about themselves as writers, what they like to read. And Ndugu's page had on it an early version of Borehole Adventures, before that I had ever met you. And it was looking at that I thought, well, I'm going to give a commission to this writer, which is the way we work, is with all of these writers, we read and look at them and then send a commission when we would like to work with a writer. And that was when I met you, because you had made this group, just as you described. The Borehole Adventure had brought these three boys together, clearly very differentiated boys whose backgrounds were entirely different and whose role in the stories is unique. But Ndugu, for me, it wasn't that story. I remember reading it and it was like, what a lovely, perfectly realized story. And I sent you another commission and you wrote Hillside. And Hillside, which is the chapter following Borehole Adventures, simply brings two of the boys up to the top of that hill that in the video you saw. Looking back, you not only see Dzaleka, you see the far horizon. And when you read this book, you'll find yourself, I think, transported by this very simple moment where Toyi and, is it Gilbert who goes up there with him?
Yeah,
I think it's Gilbert.
Gilbert.
Yeah, are looking and saying, what's that? What's that mountain? What is that smoke far away? That's Lilongwe, that's the big city. When I read that, your second story with me and your third story in the series, that's when I looked and said, this is a whole book. This narrator can see a whole world. I don't know, did we talk about that then, or did we just keep going? Do you remember that period? Hillside led to...
Hillside led to Flow and God.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah. So I think Matthew, honestly, to all amazing people who are here, it was this thing. I think I should say, they say when a door is open, it opens more other doors. And when I had worked on the Borehole Adventures, Matthew, it was I think the first piece. To just also share some hints, the first piece, the first version of Boho's Adventures ended on the sad note where the boys weren't given the payment. But then as I worked on it and then getting this happy part where they eat and then getting to the hillside too, I like visiting the hillside, and it's one of the places most fellow refugees do like to visit. And then when I was like, what if it also appears into my stories? And then, yeah, eventually, Matthew, it was at this particular time, you're like, I think you can try to work more on the stories of these adventurous fellows. And then, yeah, it grew much bigger and bigger.
Food, throughout it, food is this centerpiece, the delight of finding the food that is going to feed this hungry young stomach. And there's an equal amount of danger and disappointment as there is satisfaction. We worked on quite a few stories, and then you worked with Negar Mazruri on two stories that I felt made an incredible pivot and turn that it opened the book wide open. And those were Solange and Bottle Battle. Solange in particular, which is a story about a young girl who's a friend of these three, whose mother makes delicious food, and who one day is gone. And her fate of leaving the camp was not a happy exit. It was a mysterious, young girl is gone and has been married off to somebody. The depth of emotion and the complexity of that is very, very striking. And coming from Toyi's point of view, I was really, well, it moved me deeply. Do you have a memory of working with Negar, who at that point you two had just met? How is it that Solange as a story became so rich? How did that happen?
I vividly remember the adventures I had with Annika. She's also such an amazing editor. She's into much of feminism writing. so initially when I had got the commission from her, the offer from her to work with her on a story, I sat down, and then I was like, what am I writing about? And again, when I was writing the year 2024, I was just so obsessed with these characters of Toy. Honestly, deep down as a writer too, I really love to go back in their world. Like I just felt like getting immersed into their world. And then I was like, what am I writing? What am I writing? I truly had experienced something back in the days where we had this girl. We used to talk. We used to also go to the same school, but then sadly, she was married off. And I had that feeling, that that bitter moment in life. And then when I sat and I was thinking, I was like, what if I bring Toy to experience this particular thing? And then eventually Matthew just said something. Food is also a central part of this adventures of Toy and his friends. I was like, let me bring something, a food in it, and then let me also bring this sad thing. And then I started writing with all these moments in mind of this girl getting married off at a younger age, but having all this bright future, being so active in school. But then eventually he gets married off, and then you get to see it in the eyes of Toy. And that was a deliberate touch I did, because I was like, okay, shouldn't be the girl saying. What if it's this side, other side of a boy talking, regretting on how they got separated from their friend?
Mm-hmm. It's a remarkable part of the book. It's interesting how so many things that the book begins with come through and develop, and they're not resolved so much as simply returned to. I don't think it's spoiling things at all, but I want to point out that as the book concludes, and Toyi's family needs more help. Things have been difficult for Toyi's father, and Toyi's at an age where not making money at the borehole will matter, and needing to find some way to bring money back. And you have wonderful scenes at the Tuesday market where Toyi is asked by a woman who needs help, would you be the helper who comes and helps me in my store? It's after many trials and tribulations, different vendors who don't treat the boys well, but this woman does, and she's got a lot of work for him. Can you tell me, like the other parts of the book, was this an adventure from life that you wanted to see through Toyi's eyes? Was it from a friend? Was it something entirely came to you as you tried to conclude the book? Where did it come from for Toyi to get this? It's a bittersweet ending, because the reason this woman needs help, she needs this help from Toyi because her children have gotten asylum. They've gone to Canada, and their going to Canada leaves her still in Dzaleka. A very potent image. These things have no one side or another side. And Ndugu, tell us a little bit about how you imagined and came to that story, and how that was the place that Toyi could find a happy ending in the book.
Thanks, Matthew, for bringing this up. And yeah, I think Matthew, honestly, that was unpredictable. And as I said, when I was working on the chapters, I found myself getting absorbed into it. And for a moment, I wanted also to show that eventually, despite all the challenges that Toy and perhaps the other kids might face in a refugee camp, they might also get resolved at the end. So when I was working on the previous chapters before Well All Is Well, I had this adventure, and I also had worked with my editor, and it was sort of trying to walk through Dzaleka, trying to be a kid and trying to see what are the possibilities of a kid surviving in this camp? What are the possibilities of, what are the chances and what are the ways? And then when I sat, Toy, as you see the story, he's just an elderly teenager, 12. And then we're like, what could he do that could save him from all this? And then eventually, there's a lot that is happening in this small camp of ours. There's a lot. People are going abroad, people are coming back, some people are doing businesses, and some people are going back to their countries. I was like, what if there should be this character who eventually give offer to Toy? And then, yeah, choose the market is one of the strength of, but of the vibrant activities that happen in the camp. And I was like, what? It should also appear in my stories, and eventually it should also be the place where Toy will also get a relief from all these uncertainties that are happening to his family.
Matthew and Ndugu, I think this would be a good place to invite others to ask questions as well, if that's okay. Does that make sense?
Thank you, Sean, and thank you, Ndugu. It's a real pleasure. The work I get to do with a writer like Ndugu is exactly the work I get to do in my life as a writer in North America. It's a relationship of trying to stay present and understand an entirely unique experience and set of motivations to write. And in this case, it's been tremendously rewarding. I think anyone who gets this book will be able to see just how much we can expect from a writer like Ndugu, a whole world. And Sean, yes, I think a good time to open up the conversation, and particularly to any curiosity about, in addition to Ndugu, we have quite a few other writers from the Goat Poll are with us today. So, in fact, I see Patrick Wira, who is one of our wonderful writers, also I think in Dzaleka, has a hand up. And I'll hand to you, Sean, to manage the Q&A, but I do see that Patrick's there.
Yes, Matthew, thank you so much. I really appreciate this wonderful moment with Ndugu launching his book. Really, this is really very, very motivating. We are really very happy to see that writers are now publishing books. So really, I missed the right words to put on. So I just have one question from Ndugu. Ndugu, when you were writing this book, I'd like just to know what was the most difficult part in this writing process.
Thanks, Patrick. Wow. I should say, first, thanks, Patrick, for asking that one. I didn't expect it will come. Eventually, all writers do have this difficult part in their writing process. Mine was a bit different, I should say, and a bit unique. When I was writing this book, one aspect that truly was so hard for me was the fact that I was getting absorbed into this character. And for a moment, it was so hard to be out of this character. I don't know how I can picture this, but it was in a scenario where I just felt like wanting to see the world in the eyes of this character. And it was an overlap where sometimes I tend to live like the character, and sometimes the occurrences that I was creating for this character were turning to happen to me too. So it was in the overlap. And that was one of the hardest things, because when I was writing this chapter called The Lucky Christmas Chicken, which was one of the hardest, but also one of the most interesting part I wrote, where I had to converge these characters. And eventually I was knowing that my story, my book is coming to an end. And it was so hard to just be like, it's coming to an end, let me close it, and then let me be out of this world. Being in the world of toy and trying to have, and this involuntary thing of his word coming to mind was one of the hardest thing I ever experienced as a writer.
Well, thank you so much, Ndugu, and I'm also happy to have the hard copy of the book. So it's really very amazing. So thank you so much, Ndugu. We are very happy. We are so proud of you. Please keep it up. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions? I noted in Ndugu how humorous the book is as well. It made me laugh a lot. That I appreciate. Just your mention just now of the Christmas chicken reminded me of the somewhat hilarious scenario that you described there. Do you have any comments about the role that humor plays in the way you write?
Yeah, actually, I think one of the major thing I wanted to tackle much in this book was I just didn't want to show the life of the political aspect of children, refugee children. I also wanted to show the innocent side of them, the hopeful side of them, the joyful side of them. So the humilious part, the humilious aspect of the book was more of an intentional thing, which happens literally. I do see it in kids. I have experienced it as a kid. They shouldn't just it shouldn't just end with people crying and saying refugee kids are really suffering, but they should have this feeling of saying, despite all this, there's still joy in them, there's still happiness, there's still growing in them. And yeah.
Yeah, because with the Christmas chicken, it's definitely a difficult story. It's complex, but it's also funny, you know, and I find that really quite remarkable. Yeah.
Ndugu, what are you working on now?
Thanks, Matthew. I'm currently, like, I didn't stop completely writing, and I'm working on another novel. It's about this other adventurous character too, a student also, a young teenager who is schooling, but now is much more elder than Toy. So this character, I when I was working on, I'm working on this one, and I'm getting also absorbed into his world. So he's a music person who is just singing out, and I think it's also one of the thing kids like to do, doodling around, daydreaming, and yeah, I'm working on this book, another book, a novel of this adventurous musical character.
If you're interested to read, you'll find the stories currently on the Goat Poll. I noticed one of the things as a writer that opens up with your new book is the songs. You've written out and include these long songs that the main narrator is making up as he goes through the very different world than Toyi. It kind of struck me as you described to Patrick what was difficult. Like writers who become integrated into their work, where their work has a deep meaning for them, you are at risk of always disappearing in the work. And I think you described it so well, of feeling yourself drawn and starting to find even the events in your life emerging out of Toyi's life. And I want to say that it's exciting to see that you've moved from Toyi's world into, for me as a reader, an entirely different world. You're still in Dzaleka. You're in this place that has such a complexity. It reminds me of the writer in Sherwood Anderson, who wrote a book called Winesburg, Ohio. It's a book just about a small town, smaller than Dzaleka. I think as a writer, you've done a very good job of noticing that the whole world is right there, right with you and nearby. And it's exciting to see that in evolving as a writer, your instinct is to move into, well, let's find a new character, because the new character really is a center of gravity. It will pull you into a whole different relation.
We have one more question from Jemima. Oh, sorry. If you wanted to reply to Matthew Ndugu, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to affirm and say, yeah, getting into this new character, honestly, for a moment, it wasn't a bit easy because I was really so into Toy. And getting into this new character, I think, as you said, it's a million stars from our sky, Matthew, from Dzaleka sky. It's a whole galaxy, and each star has its own role it has to play. And I'm like, Toy is one of the star, and there are so many more stars. Let me try to also share this light from these other stars. Yeah.
Then to Jemima.
Okay. I am glad to participate in this meeting, and I really like the story. So what I wanted to ask about the story is, Ndugu Steve, what was the aim? Like, what was the target of you writing this story? That's my question.
Thanks a lot, Jemima. Honestly, my whole main focus, my whole aim was to just show the lives of kids through the eyes of the kids, and again, just to show how hopeful and how starless, I should use that word, starless they are. So my aim was to share this whole good aspect, whole good perspective of Dzaleka refugee children to the whole world. And I think, Jemima, that's why I named my book A Million Stars from Our Sky, which is a line that came from the chapter Solange, where Toy and his friends stands, they are crying for their lost friends, and then they're eventually standing and saying, no, we are sending a million stars from Dzaleka to her. And then when I had loaded that line, and this is a funny fact, the title came after we had completed the book. So when we were naming the title, we were like, what if we take this line and make it a title? And again, the title itself just tells, and it's something I had really wanted to show that there is a lot of joy, a lot of hope, and a lot of ambitious thoughts in the kids, in the refugee kids. And they're not just keeping it to themselves, they're sharing it to others. And so my aim was to share that to the whole world. A million stars from Dzaleka to everywhere. Yeah. Thanks, Jemima, for asking that.
Okay, well, I really understand it. And thank you for the explanation.
Thanks.
There's a comment from Wati Josu asking if it's possible to find a hard copy of the book here in the camp, dear Ndugu Stephen. Now, a hard copy might be more difficult, but the book is definitely available to the Goat Pole writers on the Goat Pole website. Matthew, do you know how to?
Yeah, no, anybody who's writing at the Goat Pole can get an ebook that's right there on the website, and when you're logged in as a writer, it'll offer you a free link. But indeed, the printed and bound copies made by hand in Guelph by the PS Guelph team, I believe 20 of them have made it to Dzaleka into Ndugu Stephen's hands. And Ndugu has been very generously sharing them with schools, libraries, and if there's a desire for more hard copies to reach Dzaleka, it was so thrilling when that package finally arrived. This was, made with love in Canada. It took many weeks until it reached Ndugu Stephen's hands. And Ndugu, maybe you could tell Mwati Josue and others, do you have copies that you're able to give now? Or have you already given away the copies that were sent? Or what's the best way for hard copies to circulate among the writers?
Thanks a lot, Matthew. Actually, Matthew just explained. I did, after getting the copies, I did get a few copies and share them in the library. So normally, I think that was honestly, that was the first target I had to share with the community. So a few copies are available at the community library, the major community library, and also the Ubuntu library, which is also just around here in the camp. And there's also the secondary school. So initially, if any leader based in Dzaleka wants to read, they can visit. And I have a few other copies. So I think I don't know how Sean can help. Maybe I'll type my email. You can also reach out to me. I have a few copies and I can also share with you, with anyone who is interested. Yeah.
And I know you also were in Lilongwe and have been now meeting people not only at bookshops, but other writers who are organizing to do presentations. And it might be with PS Guelph, you're able to find a way that interest in hard copies there is fulfilled and still be able to hold on to a few copies for yourself too. So don't give them all away. More are coming.
We have a very good team of bookmakers who would be very happy to make a lot more copies. Yes, to send for sure. And maybe we should take one more question then from Ania. Oh, sorry, Mwati Josue, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted just to say something. Actually, thank you so much. I'm really happy to be in this workshop with Ndugu Steven, the author of the Million Stars in Our Sky. So I wanted to ask him some question about the book, as already said it, and actually I'm so proud of you. You just open another opportunity for us. You also show us that even if you are a refugee, you can also do it, and you can also write something which can be worldwide. I'm glad hearing that people from other places, they are also appreciating it. So that means it's really hard working for you, and really keep on working hard like this. You are also our many role model. So thank you so much. I will be so excited to get one of the hard copies of the story. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Marty. Thanks.
Then let's go to Ania and then to Joy.
Thank you and good evening. I had a great privilege to work in Dzaleka refugee camp for 2 years before I moved to Nairobi. And it is in Dzaleka that I met Stephen and our friendship started. We had some great adventures in the camp, and today being here with you, it's really a great privilege for me. I am as well very proud of you, Stephen. I congratulate you. And I have a very simple question. Did your friends, Gatson and Gilbert, read the book?
Thanks a lot, Sister Anna. Thanks a lot. And well, thanks you are here. Thanks you are here. I think that was a kept surprise for Matthew and for all leaders. Please, here is one of the characters who happened to appear in Kind Stranger. Sister Anna, thanks a lot for asking. Sister Anna had seen my friends, Gilbert and Gatson, who who were much of also the inspiration when I wrote the book, Gatson and Gilbert, who the characters in the two characters, the friends of Toy, much resemble Gilbert and Gatson. So eventually, when I started writing the book in 2024, a few chapters of them I had shared with my friends, but you know, life and the separation thing, the movement thing, we got separated. Gilbert got resettled with the family. They had to migrate to Mozambique, so we didn't get in touch since then. And Gadson too, likewise, he went to another part here in Malawi, somewhere far, and it has been so difficult to meet him up. But thanks a lot, Sister Anna, for asking that. And Matthew, here's Sister Anna from Kind Stranger, and everyone, Kind Stranger.
Then to Joy.
Sorry about that. And maybe you've answered this already. So I just wondered if your characters are all based on someone you know.
Thanks a lot, Joy. Honestly, I think I should put it in this way. When I'm writing, honestly, and I wanted to emphasize this thing of kids. I took this character Toy, who is a kid, and for a moment, I much feel kids are some souls who are so grateful. They get to be grateful in every little thing that elder people do to them. And for a moment, if, for example, you give a sweet to a kid, he'll gladly receive it. And it's a feeling that the kid gets to perceive in such a big way while you have done something so small. And when I entered into this world of Toy, I much wanted also to appreciate all these things that are around me. And I, it was more of overlapping. When I enter into this world of Toy, the world of Toy gets to enter into my world. And sometimes the things he's meeting sneaks into my world. And when I'm also writing, my things also enters into her world. So initially, I had to use like some of little people who I had met. For example, I had to use Gatson and Gilbert, who were my friends, and then I also had to use Sister Anna, which was also something I carried by heart, and I was like, it's something that each and every kid can do, and it deserves to be shared. And yeah, thanks, Joy.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that our time is coming sort of to a close now. So maybe this would be a good place to conclude. Matthew and Ndugu, is that okay with you as well? Or do you have more that you want to say?
It's wonderful. So nice to see such a range of people. It's so nice to get to hear Ndugu's reflections on this process, years-long process, and the fact of so many people here being writers. You all understand, I think, at a kind of deep level, that peculiar, important capacity of making worlds that are coterminous with, that exchange with the world of our living encounters. Ndugu, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Matthew, and thanks a lot, everyone. I think, wow, if Toy was really an existing character in this world, he would be speechless, honestly. Thanks a lot for all your curious questions, and yeah, receive 1,000,000 stars from Dzaleka.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ndugu and Matthew, for this today, and for all of you, to all of you for joining, especially the other goat poll writers. I think it's beautiful how you support each other in these endeavors. I added in the chat function there a couple of links. One to Ndugu's page on the goat poll, where you can read a lot of his more recent, or not more recent, but writing that he has published since A Million Stars from Our Sky. And also, somebody included there the link if you'd like to order a copy of the book. But I think, as Matthew said, we'll be in touch also in Ndugu about sending a larger package of books that you can circulate in bookstores and in, as Matthew said, in Lilongwe, at the bookshops and among your community there as well. That would be wonderful.